In this video, I'm going to show you how to start a part. Cody did a great job showing you how you build off of datums if you're building a single part, but typically the part's going to interact with many other parts in an assembly, and I usually want to design the part so that it behaves in the assembly. That's the design intent that I'm capturing. In the assembly that you see on the screen, I have two sub-assemblies, and how all this gets put together is basically an advanced topic, they say, but I think that it's just basic. How do you do parametric modeling? This is something that I do and that I really want, and that is designing in the assembly. When I'm actually modifying my designs, I want to be able to do something like this. That is, I want to double click on a feature and I want to be able to make a change. In this case, this part wasn't designed properly. First off, this drives me crazy. I design in millimeters. This plate should be rounded off to the nearest 10 millimeters. So let's go off and make this modification. And as you'll see, this part does not behave in the assembly. This part was not designed properly. Okay, as opposed to the plate on top, when I double click that and I make a design change, notice how everything updates properly. So to me, when you're designing a part, it has to have an idea on how it's going to behave inside of the assembly. What does this actually mean? Well, it means, let me make this part work, okay? So I'm going to open up this part and I'm going to find the base feature. And here's the base feature. And then of course I need to edit the sketch in this feature. Turns out that this isn't properly defined. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that it modifies based on the left and right. Because the part is the same on left and right. Why not take advantage of that and add that design intent? All that does is center it up. Notice how the part regenerates properly. One thing to note, that I am messing around with the base feature on this, and typically when you change the base feature, all of these features will blow up. So the other thing that you need to do is to be able to construct a model in a way that behaves when somebody goes and makes a change to it, anticipating the change, building the geometry in effect, or in a way that allows for modifications downstream. That's the sign of good solid modeling. Go back to the top level assembly. So the other issue is, how do you design with design intent when you have nothing? And one of the concepts that you really have to get a good handle on is that when I start a design, one of the things that I'm constantly looking for are the datums, and where do I establish the datums for the assembly? Because all the parts are going to start hanging off of the datums. If I look at this particular structure, I can tell that these datums match up, even all the way down to the actual part file, that these datums are actually matching up also with the particular assembly that's being put together. So if you're going to be designing a part, you typically need to be considering the assembly. And that goes true with virtually everything. So if I take a look at this, the datums associated with this, typically on an automated piece of equipment, it's what I'm working on. And if you take a look at this design here, you'll notice that I'm bisecting the end effector and what I'm actually working on. Typically things want to bolt up to that, and establishing your datums at that location is just good design practice. This is an automated piece of equipment. This is the datum structure that I've chosen for this particular assembly. Likewise, in this piece of equipment, this one has datums associated with it also. And in this case, the datums are established based on, this machine makes tube, and it's the center of the tube. This machine actually has documented datums. This is called the horizontal pass line. This is called the vertical pass line, and it literally is just the center of the actual tube. Everything bolts onto this machine, and they typically attach to this datum or to this datum. So what I'm trying to show you is that using datums to start, when I start a design, I don't start with a part. I usually start with the assembly. I establish my datums, then I'll go and I'll deal with the parts, and I know that my parts are usually going to hang off of those datums that I've defined inside of the assembly. It's a higher way to think about it, but in the end, it gives you the ability to come off and make changes in the assembly, design in the assembly. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I want to be able to double click on something and I want it to behave. I want to be able to double click on it and I want the dimensions to make modifications to that feature to show up on the screen.